So, so you have some questions about camping?
Yes. I was wondering about what do you need? Where's the best places to camp? What are your suggestions?
So, do you have any camping supplies like a tent, sleeping bag, little camping stove, anything like that?
I have one sleeping bag, nothing else though for camping. No other camping supplies.
Okay. And what and how long are you wanting to just do like one overnight to try it out first, or are you thinking that you want to, go a little bit longer so you can get settled in when you're camping?
I like to start with a weekend. I think a weekend would be good.
Okay. You're down. Are you wanting to maybe drive up north so that you can kind of maybe get up by Lake Superior? There's also some really beautiful campsites along the Mississippi River, kind of over by Red Wing on the eastern part of the state. Are you thinking about any particular place that you want to go?
Something I know about was, and I've heard about people talking about, was a beautiful place called BWC. BWC. Oh, BWCA. That's what I've heard of before. I heard that's a good camping place.
I mean the BWCA?
B. Yes, BWCA.
Oh,
BWC. That's what I've heard about before.
the
It's
the
good.
BWCA is a great place to go camping. It's not a place where you would go for just a weekend. Because from where you're at, I'm thinking like to get to a lake, it's probably almost a 5 hour drive, 4 hour drive to get up there. Um, you could, I mean, I suppose if you went in on if you got Friday off and you drove up on Friday, you could get in and camp Friday night and Saturday night. That takes some more equipment though. So, but one nice thing they up on the when you're going into the Boundary Waters, there are lots of places up there that have what are called outfitters. So it's essentially a business where they have all the camping supplies you need. So you can show up and they'll say, okay, here's a tent for you. Here's a sleeping pads for you. Here's a canoe. Here life jackets. All those kind of things. So that's one nice thing about going to the Boundary Waters, is that you could go someplace where you get all the supplies. Is that?
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, where? That's in BWCA?
Yep. So
Okay. I didn't know that.
do you know where that's at?
Keep camping. I didn't know that before. I didn't know.
Have you ever been up to Grand Marais? Grand
I'm sorry, can you
Marais.
say it again?
Yep. Grand, and then Marais is Marais.
Yes, I've heard of that before.
So if you go up to Grand Marais, there's a road that goes out of there called the Gunflint Trail. Gunflint, Gunflint. And it's a
Okay.
trail, but it's actually a paved road that goes back into the wilderness. It goes north and west from Grand Marais. And along you go past all sorts of lakes that are part of the Boundary Waters. And then on a lot of the lakes, there'll be outfitters where you can stop off at a store and get all the supplies you need and go in.
Nice. That's good to know. I'll have to jot down those places. Thank you.
I mean, it's something you would need to plan in advance, because you have to, when you're going into the Boundary Waters, if you're sleeping overnight, you have to get a permit, because you can only have, each lake has a specific number of parties that can go in each day, so that they control how many people are in the wilderness and it doesn't get too many people there. So you have to get a permit in advance. You have to know what lake entry point you're going to go in on. But if you contact an outfitter, they could help you with all of that.
That's good to know. Thank you.
And if you're going up there, one of the things you have to think about too is when you bring your food, you have to make sure that you keep it in a way that you protect it from bears, because there are lots of black bears up in the Boundary Waters. So one of the things that they'll teach you about is how to like hoist your food pack with ropes and put it up into a tree so that it gets it away from where bears can get to it. Have you ever seen that, how that happens?
No, I've heard about it before, and I know about you need to keep your food hoisted up from the bears, but oh wow, I didn't realize.
It's one of the tricky things. We've done that a lot. The hard part is because you want to find a nice, like a good pine tree that has a good steady, sturdy branch, and then you have to take a little rock, tie your rope onto the rock, and throw that rock up over the top of the branch. And you have to have a long enough rope that'll come back down to the ground. Then you tie that onto your pack. But then you also have to have another rope that's tied onto your pack so that you can when you pull the pack up, it doesn't get too close to the first tree. So you have to tie the other rope and pull it away from the tree so it's hanging out kind of in midair where a bear can't get it. Because if it's too close to the tree, the bear can just climb the tree and get to the food anyway.
I see. Oh yeah, that's good to know.
Well, one question I have for you: do you have much experience canoeing?
I maybe went about 3 or 4 times canoeing before, but with friends, family, not camping. Good to know. Good idea. In Minneapolis, they have Lake. I can't think of how you spell the name. Minneapolis. Yes, Minneapolis. It's the town. Minneapolis.
So Minneapolis?
That's the city. You could bring your canoe, your own canoe. And you could practice sometimes.
Okay, yep. Yeah, there are plenty of lakes in Minneapolis that you could probably rent a canoe at. Um, yeah, that's just one thing to kind of get some experience on that. The other part is when you're doing a Boundary Waters trip, you can kind of look at maps and you have to kind of plan out where you want to go, because depending on what lake you start on, sometimes you can just stay on one big lake and move from campsite to campsite, or you could do what's called portaging, where you carry the canoe and all your supplies on a little trail between lakes. Spell what? Portage, Portage. Yeah, so portaging is where if you're you paddle on one lake and you have all your supplies, but you want to get to another lake, they have little trails that go between, so you have to get out, put your backpack on, lift your canoe up on top of your shoulders so you're carrying it like it's a big giant hat, and walk across the trail to the other lake. Is that something you'd be interested in, is kind of going from lake to lake and doing some portaging, or would you rather just stay on one lake?
Portage sounds fun to travel to different lakes. But now maybe the same lake's a good idea. For now,
When I go there, it's really nice to kind of go see different lakes, and there's something kind of nice about where sometimes you have to carry it like a quarter of a mile, so it's pretty long hike to carry heavy stuff across. And usually you have to climb up a hill and over rocks and all sorts of stuff. But then when you come down and you finally get to where you see the next lake, it's just such a beautiful sight. So it's worth it in the end. But you could also, if for a first trip, you could go and just set up camp on one lake and then do day trips where you're not carrying all your supplies, but you just carry the canoe across. And that's a lot easier, because then it's just, particularly if there's two of you, you can carry the canoe together. It's a little easier to get across.
So yeah, sounds good.
Do you have other questions about kind of what supplies or what you would need to do for planning?
I can't think of anything right now.
Well, I have a couple of final tips. One thing I would suggest is that it's really helpful to have some kind of trail mix or some kinds of sugary treats that you can eat when you're out paddling, or if you're on a portage, that just can be a quick pick you up. So when we would take our kids to the Boundary Waters all the time, kind of from when we actually started when our daughter was 3 months old. But it was super helpful to always just have a bag of trail mix. So if they were starting to get super grumpy and we were kind of halfway down a trail and we still had a long way to go, it was really great to be able to say, here, eat some of this. And Jolly Ranchers were a pretty popular item as well. So having some of those snacks that get you through is important. The other thing to think about is getting a bug net. So in case the mosquitoes are really bad, you can put that over your head and just, keep the mosquitoes out of your face for a little while. That can give you a little peace in the midst of all the pests.
A bug net, yes. Thanks. That's a good idea. Thank you. That's good information.
Well, if you get to the point where you're really thinking about taking a trip, feel free to reach back out, and I could maybe we could talk about what are potential spots, or if you wanted to know kind of suggestions for an outfitter to go to, I'd be happy to give you some suggestions too.
Amazing. Great. That'd be awesome.
I look forward.
I'll definitely do that. Thank you.